Never trust the door shaker. Oh. He's not letting us in the main road. Exactly.
The children were all right. That was the first word that filtered back from the Santa Rita Rehabilitation Center in Pleasanton. This is where they brought the 26 children and the bus driver from the quarry.
Of all the parents, and I was beginning to think something was the matter with me, because I have felt from the very beginning, there was no doubt in my mind that they were all right and going to be all right, all of them, and I never doubted that. And I saw other mothers coming apart, friends came to my house. One girl came out this morning to give me some sedatives. She broke down twice, ended up taking the sedatives, and they took her home.
Mr. Edward Dray.
So there we was down in there. They had some food and some water for us, some Cheerios and tater chips and plenty of water, a couple loaves of bread. We went in that about 3:30 and we stayed there till this afternoon. About 7 o'clock we got dug out. We handed all the kids up. I handed the kids up to the other boys, and we got out, and just lucky enough, there was a gravel pit right just within 200 feet of us, and a man over there, so jumped him, told him what happened, and well, he said, I heard that on the news, so he went and called the sheriff and the fire trucks and everything else was there. So we had a big crowd. We all got home safe. That's my story, I guess.
Thank you. Mrs. Ray, it's O-D-E-S-S-A. Thank you, Mr. You are the speaker. I need the courtesy. See you.
Call that your wife received this afternoon and the threat that she received.
Well, while I was down here earlier in the evening, a woman called my home and asked for me, and my wife told her that I wasn't there and asked if there was any message that she could take for me. And the lady told her that the children had been found, but it wasn't over, that there would be others.
Have you told the FBI this?
No, I have not.
Are you going to tell them?
Yes, I will tell them, but I did tell it to the Chowchilla police. They've been informed of it already. No, she started, my wife says she started crying and said, I can't talk anymore. And that generally is about the gist of the whole conversation. She hung up before.
Did she say where the children were?
No, she just said that the children had been found, but there would be others.
What time? When was this?
That would probably be between 9 and 10 o'clock this evening.
Any idea where the call came from?
None. None.
Here or others somewhere else? Was it
no, it was a lady.
Is your telephone number listed in the phone book?
Yes. Primarily, the children were driven in vans from the time they were abducted for approximately 11 hours, taken to this cave or excavation in a rock quarry at Livermore. And after
Are we ready? I just arrived about 5 minutes ago, gentlemen, and I'm trying to find out just what the situation is. As far as I can tell, we're going to deal in facts and not speculation. At the present time, we know that there's 27 people missing since about 4:15 yesterday afternoon. And it's our job and the job of the entire law enforcement community here in Chowchilla to find these youngsters and the bus driver, and to make sure we take the responsible people into custody for this particular crime.
At which point do you take over fully?
I don't think it's a question of anybody taking over fully. As far as the FBI is concerned, according to the federal law, there is a presumption that there is a federal violation after 24 hours have passed, and that gives us authority to conduct an investigation. Up to this point, Sheriff Ed Bates has been doing an outstanding job, and we are going to continue to work with the Madero County Sheriff's Office, with the California Highway Patrol, and any other law enforcement agencies that are necessary in our efforts to solve the crime. So it's not a question of anybody being in charge. It's a law enforcement community activity, and we're going to be working together.
How many people at all from anyone?
We have had no contact whatsoever. To my knowledge, as I say, I just arrived a little bit ago, and I was told you gentlemen of the press and ladies of the press wanted me to come out and say something, and so therefore that's why I'm here.
How many people do you have, sir?
I don't even know that. We have quite a number, and we have additional people coming in from the surrounding offices. Exact numbers I do not have at this time.
Do you have any political act, you think?
That's speculation, sir. Your guess is as good as mine at this point.
Means you have no leads, right?
We have nothing to go on at the present time, and that's what we're trying to do.
Communicated from anyone?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Mr. Gill, I understand a small purse was found and some clothes near Watsonville. Does that have any connection?
I know nothing about the finding of any purse. Do you know anything about it?
No.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. If there is any developments, we will let you know.
Robert E.
In other words, it'd be like a submarine conning tower, and then you go down into it in that manner and then back into it. And apparently there was plywood and steel and then plywood over the top of that. And
in other words, they were sealed in there to a degree and had to burrow their way out.
Well, there is ventilation in there. There's ventilation
Can you explain how the words got out because these people were there?
Well, they got out, and apparently they located the employee at Cal Rock. And
Who was this employee?
the children, all of them got out.
Who
They all
was
got
the
out.
employee?
I don't have his name.
About what time?
Pardon?
We don't know after they're in there.
In the case, the situation
Go ahead.
is now, how have they been treated?
Well, they're here, they've been fed, they've been cleaned up, they've been given clothing, we're talking to them.
I would generally describe them in very high spirits.
Yeah.
They talk to their parents?
We ask who wants to be talked to next, and they all put up their hand, and they're very jovial, and they are just in fine spirits. One wearing brown clothing, and the other one khaki, more than likely, or possibly a light brown. One has long brown hair. Now, what's long, I really don't know.
What about the weapons?
One's the first weapon that was seen by the bus driver. One was a handgun, as he mentioned, is a small gun, and the other one was much larger. Whether it was a sawed-off shotgun, a sawed-off rifle, or maybe a full-size, we don't know.
Was it obvious that these children were kept together the entire time, or was there some point where they might have been separate?
They don't know whether the two vans were together because you couldn't see out of the vans.
And what kind of vans were these? Can you describe them?
Well, one is a white van, possibly a Dodge. Both of them possibly Dodges. One is very dark, possibly black. The other one's white.
Where are they right now?
I wished I knew.
Sheriff, Mr. Bates indicated that you might be able to get the
Truth in Chowchilla. Come here, Mike. Bob.
Brown, how do you feel? How's the kid?
But all that is gone now. The reporters are gone. The telephones are gone. Oh, the tables are still here. They've moved the fire engines back in. But something else remains in this tiny town, something that's going to remain for a long time. The memories.
Well, I think the city is beginning to get back to normal, near normal again, but the worst scars we'll have is apprehension, I'm sure, upon the parts of many people for a long time to come. And yesterday afternoon I was talking to parents of one of the little girls that was abducted, and we have some problems developing there with her. Now, she's the first one that I've had any reports about withdrawal symptoms or anything like this nature.
lot of them are scared to let their kids out of the house. I know my wife's got a girlfriend across town that says she won't let her kids out of the house.
It's been like a nightmare. One day we woke up and all of these people were here, and I don't know.
He, very much like his brother, seems to be extraordinarily naive about the seriousness of the charges he faces, about the length of the possible trial or pre-trial motions in this kind of a case. I think he's, at least after our conversation, a little bit more concerned about the problems with facing trial in a county like Madera, and a little bit more concerned about the kind of public feeling about a person who is even accused of this sort of a crime. I don't think he at any time has really grasped that, and I think the main portion of our conference today was just to alert him to the seriousness of the allegations against him.
What about those predictions?
Who made that prediction?
Well, your lieutenant.
Whoever did it, and for whatever motives, put a great deal of planning and effort, and we might even say money, into this thing, because they've obviously bought the vans and kept them latent or hidden from view, and it shows a great deal of thought. But what their thought was and what their motive is, I don't think we'll know.
The only issue at the non-jury trial that began today is whether bus driver Ed Ray and 4 of the Chowchilla school children suffered bodily harm during their kidnap ordeal of last July. If the judge finds that they did suffer bodily harm, the 3 defendants in this case will be sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. "26 school children and their bus driver are a year older this week than they were last year when their yellow school bus was commandeered in Chowchilla, allegedly by 3 young men from the San Francisco Peninsula. That case has still not come to trial and probably won't for some time.
Everything that we have presented on their defense has been the common accepted defense procedure, and there's been nothing that has been bizarre or absurd. And the idea that anybody, any defense counsel, could defend a charge of this magnitude without raising these defenses and without being guilty of gross malpractice is absurd.
Once this hearing is over with, will it be possible for these defendants to get a fair trial here?
In my opinion, it will not. That's why we sought to exclude the public and the press from the hearings.
I'm not overly concerned, but that's probably because I'm a lawyer and I'm used to delays. That's part of our system, which is unique to the American system of jurisprudence, and we lawyers learn to live with it. But of course, the public can't understand it. And I, of course, wish it were otherwise, but that's the nature of the system, and it just, sometimes it takes a very long time. We think that, as in most cases, we think that justice is going to be done, even though it may take a while.
Are you afraid that some of those kids who are witnesses and victims could forget everything that they went through?
I don't think there's any chance in the world they'll ever forget.
That's the only way we can determine if the kidnapping actually did do traumatic injury to the children in question. We have to have before and after.
Well, do you feel happy or satisfied with Judge Deegan's plan to keep everything confidential until someone decides a particular child is going to testify? You can have enough time to go over that case.
I assume that he will give us enough time to go over the case before he sets it down for a formal hearing on those issues. He said he would give us, he would open it up if they chose to make an issue of the particular children, whether they were injured by the trauma. So therefore, he would give us adequate time. So I'm satisfied with it.
Do you think it important to the defense to go into the medical history of each of the children involved in the kidnapping?
Yes, if they chose to proceed as they have now chosen to do so, yes. It'd be very definite, have to.
Does that also include emotional problems as well as physical problems? Because that's a part of the prosecution's claim.
Well, there's very little, as you gentlemen who have seen the transcript know, there's very little physical damage at all. And practically it's non-existent. Everything has to be on a psychological basis.
Is it your claim that nobody was a victim of violence?
It's based on it, apparently, that particular...
Unusual feeling. It never happened before as far as I was concerned. I'd never been here before. The rest of them had. The children had never seen them before except for when they were kidnapped, so it was a weird feeling.
You made some comments about the security in the courtroom.
Yeah, I've been in law enforcement for 9 years, and it was unusual that the security was as loose as it was.
Do you feel that this is going to bring back a little bit of the trauma of the kidnap for your children to see the three men that kidnapped them in the court today?
Through your mind, sitting only a few feet from the men who kidnapped your son and daughter?
Well, there was 2 bailiffs between me and them, so I couldn't have much feeling. What could you do but sit and listen to the judge? I was quite interested.
As you looked at them, did you feel anger or hatred?
No, I feel pity for them.
You're an agriculture teacher, Mr. Brown. You work with children all the time. What kind of damage
in the courtroom?
Nothing real actual or anything.
Did you recognize the men?
Yeah.
What do you think about them?
Well, I don't know.
Well, not really. You say they would give you this funny look. What did that make you feel?
Scared.
Really? Are you afraid of those men, do you think?
No.
Were you afraid of them before?
Any lasting effects? Do you think that any of your friends or you have been hurt for a long time because of it?
No, not really.
Thanks very much.
We read a lot in the press and television.
What are you going to do with the $300?
I haven't decided. I didn't know I was going to get $300.
You look pretty nervous up there, were you?
Oh, not very nice up there. I mean, all people look, they're nice, but I mean, I'm not used to that.
Heroes are supposed to be men of few words, and Ed Ray is just that. In accepting the award, he said, "Thank you. We got the children home. That's all I was worried about." And he sat down. Otis Turner, KCRA News, Sacramento.
Resolution number 6. Wait.
The court session today was actually an arraignment for James Schoenfeld, captured last week in the Bay Area, and Fred Woods, captured in Canada last week. Richard Schoenfeld, the third suspect in the case, was also in court.
San Mateo County investigators are playing it close to the belt since joining the investigation of the Chowchilla school bus kidnapping. That fact came out today in newspaper stories in Sacramento and Fresno, as one investigator was quoted as saying the case will be over within 24 hours.
Well, it's difficult to be specific based on the kind of investigation we're involved in, and that if we get too specific, it may definitely injure our ability to investigate.
Investigators here are reportedly looking for a man named Fred, who is indirectly linked to the California Rock and Gravel Company quarry where the children were kept underground. The acting district attorney of Madera County is quoted as saying that all that's needed now is a few phone calls. And a federal investigator says that this is bound to be one of the most bizarre cases ever. Spencer Michaels, KCRA News, Redwood City. All last night and all today, law enforcement authorities have been combing the Portola Valley estate of Fred Woods III, looking for evidence in the very strange and very well-covered case of the kidnapped Chowchilla school bus.
Well, I think you can speculate that there was guns used, there was masks used, there was vans used to transport the kids, all of the things that have come out in the press that would be evidence in connection with that case.
Well, he's still no, I wouldn't say intimidated, but he was obviously shocked suddenly to hear the words life imprisonment without possibility of parole.
He didn't know that already?
We hadn't really discussed it. It's the judge.
He smiled a few times.
He smiled when the judge said something that was kind of humorous, and he did. The judge is he's a nice guy and a kindly guy, and he said some things in semi-levity, and that's why he smiled.
These days I look in the mirror and I have to admit, I'm not the strapping young Muslim socialist that I used to be.